Welcome to Rob Schmitt Tonight. Joe Biden entered the White House on a promise to study the idea of packing the Supreme Court. After the high court dropped 3 justices during President Trump's term, all who were replaced by conservatives. The radical left was out for blood. Control of the Supreme Court was paramount to their fundamentally anti-American agenda. It's now clear the White House has determined that packing the Supreme Court is far too radical optically. So the left has resorted to a very familiar low, attacking conservative justices with ridiculous claims. It's Brett Kavanaugh all over again, except this time the target is Clarence Thomas, who's committed the unthinkable crime of having a rich friend for the past 25 years. Can you imagine? The media coverage of this story has been exactly what you would expect from the same press who refused to report the irrefutable evidence of influence peddling from the sitting president of the United States. Here is how they're handling Clarence Thomas.
It's unheard of at the Supreme Court. This ProPublica report really detailing these lavish trips that Justice Clarence Thomas took and that were paid for by this mega donor.
Justice Thomas has been accepting luxury, lavish trips from a Dallas billionaire Republican donor.
I'm sure this billionaire Republican didn't want to influence nobody. He just wanted to go on vacation with Clarence Thomas, because we all know that Clarence Thomas is clearly a bag of fun.
Anyone would know that having someone wine and dine you to the tune of literally millions of dollars over the last few decades, anyone should know that that is not good.
Again, we don't have a real media in this country. Partisan actors have taken control of journalism, the same as they now control higher education and entertainment. ProPublica, a left-wing rag that calls itself an investigative news organization who's behind all this, has accused Thomas of illegal activity for simply traveling with his rich friend Harlan Crow on Crow's yacht, on Crow's planes, and spending about a week every summer at Crow's private resort in the Adirondacks. And because the entirety of the press screams about this story every day, it's just assumed to be legitimate and gains traction with the public. Again, that's how easy we all are to control. It's scary. The newest allegation that a company owned by Harlan Crow bought property from Clarence Thomas, which Thomas did not disclose. Yet again, it's a case where the headline is far superior to the story. It is clickbait, a tactic rags like ProPublica love to fool you with. Once you open the story, you find that the house in question was Thomas's childhood home, bought by Harlan Crow for a very, very meager $133,000, a home Clarence Thomas had inherited only 1/3 of and only received 1/3 of the meager proceeds. And Harlan Crow intended to also build the Clarence Thomas Museum in that home. What a scandal. Far worse than taking millions from the Chinese government. That's the story that the media is hyperventilating over right now, which tells you a lot. While they ignore irrefutable evidence of the sitting president influence peddling in China, by the way. Harlan Crow finally speaking out to the Dallas Morning News today saying, "I think that the media and this ProPublica group in particular, funded by leftists, has an agenda to destabilize the Supreme Court." And clearly that is the point. The militant left is gaining tremendous ground in this country these last few years. Our entire way of life is deteriorating rapidly. The only thing that they don't control right now is our third branch of government, and there's no level that they won't stoop to get it. Never forget what they did to Brett Kavanaugh, an abortion radicalized lunatic making outrageous accusations that she was raped by Kavanaugh when they were teenagers, a story that the friend who was with Christine Blasey Ford that day says was nonsense. Quote, "It would be impossible for me to be the only girl at a get-together with 3 guys, have her leave, and then not figure out how she's getting home. I just really didn't have confidence in the story." That's from Christine Blasey Ford's friend who was with her that day. So this is what these people are capable of. They're willing to go to that level. So of course they're able to feign outrage over Clarence Thomas's friend buying his very small childhood home to turn it into a shrine to the Supreme Court justice. And this isn't the first time that Justice Thomas has been attacked. Let's take you way back to 1991, just to have a little fun for a moment. A much younger but just as mindless Joe Biden attacking Thomas at his confirmation for allegations of sexual harassment. This is actually a fairly famous clip we're going to show you here, because Joe Biden droned on for nearly 7 minutes. And if you think he doesn't make any sense today, you should have seen this, because none of this made any sense whatsoever, and he was 32 years younger. Watch as Clarence Thomas patiently absorbs the lunacy that is the mind of Joe Biden. We're only going to play a little bit of it, but imagine this going on for 7 minutes.
Not a single legal scholar in America fails to understand the significance of whether and if how one applies natural law. You and I know at least what we're talking about here. You know and I know what we're talking about. It is a fundamental question that is going to be almost impossible for non-lawyers to grasp in an exchange. But you know and I know it is a big, big deal.
That guy's now the president of the United States. Clarence Thomas was asked years later about that moment. He said, "I have no idea what Joe Biden was talking about." And that was 32 years ago.